Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Tasliman kathiran kathira famma ba'du. My dear brothers and sisters, we are in the what I like to call my 3.1 lecture on the series of lectures 2021 Challenges and Solutions. And this one, 3.1, is based on the effect, the solution with regard to what disruptive technologies and AI and so on have done to our world and what we need to do in order to get mastery of that. I want to begin with one of Richard Feynman's famous quotes about our current education system globally. And he says, you cannot get educated by this self-propagating system in which people study to pass exams and teach others to pass exams, but nobody knows anything. You learn something by doing it yourself, by asking questions, by thinking, and by experimenting. And that's Richard Feynman. Obviously, I totally agree with him. And those of you who have heard any of my or read any of my own quotes on the subject of education, you know that I believe in this completely. Let me give you a little bit of perspective on this and then my solution. 1760 to 1840, 1760 to 1840 is perhaps one of the most significant periods of human history. And that was only 261 years ago. It's not too ancient in historical terms. That's the period of the Industrial Revolution, when assembly line manufacture changed the face of society, culture, economy, education, fashion, role of men and women, family structure and dynamics, even day and night in Europe and America. The Industrial Revolution was ostensibly about manufacturing, but its effect extended from the factories into homes, into schools, lifestyles, roles of power and authority, and totally changed life as it was known before that time. One of the most significant of those changes was in school education. There were no schools as we know them today prior to 1760. Sure, there are schools in the world which are older than 200 years, especially in Britain, but those were exceptions and they were not organized the way ours are. Standardized schooling as we know it today is an industrial revolution-related phenomenon. I mention this not to give you a history lesson, but so that you understand the underpinning of the philosophy, the reason why schooling was organized in this way. That is the root cause of our problems. The reasons it was done. Those reasons are not valid today, and therefore our system is irrelevant. Someday I will speak on this in more detail. It's an interesting tale. But for now, please take my word for it. The system is toxic, it's harmful, and it ensures failure in our world today. It needs to change urgently. Currently, our schools are run on a model that combines assembly line manufacture and prisons. Let me illustrate. I'm talking to you, the student. The gate shuts after you enter and you cannot leave until it opens again. Class times are indicated by buzzers and bells because apparently you can't be trusted to keep to the time. While in class, you can do nothing without first seeking permission. Your day is scheduled not according to your needs or desires, but for the convenience of the administration. You cannot study or eat or play or read or simply gaze into space doing nothing when you want. You can only do those things at specific designated times foisted on you without consulting you. And the last one, gazing into space, you can't do it at all. Sound familiar? The reality is that those whose schools are meant for, that is, students, have no say about what happens there to them or how. All decisions, without exception, are taken by parents or teachers or school administration for their convenience. Let me ask you a question. Does your school have a parent-teacher association? I rest my case. The school is for children. The association, which deals with what happens to children, is comprised of those who are not children, parents and teachers, who think they know best what is for the children. The children have no input in that process. The way our schools are geared, we assess, reward, or punish the wrong people, that is, students. Students are our customers. They must be benefited, and it's our job as teachers to benefit them. We must be assessed, and if we are able to equip our students to succeed, we must be rewarded. And if not, we must be trained to be able to do so. For this, we must teach differently, teach different things, and test differently. Today, we teach by giving answers. We teach discrete subjects as if they don't have any relation to one another, even though in reality they do. We try to stuff the brains of students with unrelated facts and grade them on their ability at random recall within a specific time frame. What is the sanctity of that? Absolutely nothing. We test memory because that's the easiest thing to test. That's it. We do not test understanding, much less application of knowledge or value adding to it by someone who comes by default with a fresh perspective. That is the student's greatest asset. We trash it from the word go. We discourage questioning. In our religious schools, it is sacrilege to question the teacher. We treat disagreement as treason and punish imagination and lateral thinking. Dumb obedience is our principal virtue. Today, students only need to be literate and numerate and have a desire to learn. They can learn anything on their own with remote guidance if necessary, and that too, for the most part, free of cost, no fees. On Khan Academy or Udemy, you can learn practically anything at all. MIT has put all its classes and data as open source, accessible to anyone, free. The message is clear that technology today has made the teacher who simply tells the student what is in a textbook redundant. What remains necessary is practical application, experiencing knowledge in action, problem solving, human relations, conflict resolution, and collaborating with others to move mountains. None of this is possible to automate and needs human interaction. Those who can teach in this way need not fear AI or job loss. They will always be in demand. Schools must therefore be geared differently, not only in how they teach, but curricula must be redesigned to leverage the relationship of one subject with another so that learning becomes meaningful and interesting instead of the burden it currently is. The focus of teaching must be on asking searching questions, to encourage students to go down paths unexplored. The teacher's job is not to give answers. Their main payoff is that they learn as much as or more than their students. The biggest responsibility of teachers is to demonstrate, not enforce, demonstrate discipline, dedication, open-mindedness, love for learning, curiosity and questioning, commitment, perseverance in research, respect for the other, respect for dissent and diversity, etiquette of questioning and disagreement, appreciation for others, working collaboratively, kindness, charity, service, and just plain good manners. The world has changed, and if we wish to remain relevant, influential contributors, we must lead that change. That is why the tarbiyah of the teacher is more important than the tarbiyah of the students, because one flows from the other, and that's the nature of the flow, not the other way around. That's the reason why the mother of Imam Malik bin Anas rahmatullah alayhi said, take from the akhlaq of Rabiatul Rai before you take from his knowledge. She was advising her young son who was going to Rabiatul Rai rahmatullah alayhi to study in Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif, and she says to him, take from the akhlaq, from the adab of Rabiatul Rai before you take from his knowledge. And that's the reason why Abdullah bin Mubarak rahmatullah alayhi said, I studied adab, I studied respect, I studied manners, I studied akhlaq for 30 years before I approached ilm, before I approached knowledge. Today, the study of adab, the study of akhlaq is not even a subject in our curricula. As I said, the world has changed. And if we wish to remain relevant, influential contributors, we must lead that change. That is what Islam came to do. We need real education which can make the graduates powerful, productive, responsible citizens of the nation and of the world. We must create leaders, not slaves. I call this integrated teaching. Please see my lectures where I have explained the concept in detail. This is what we need very urgently for the future. The purpose of teaching, all teaching, is threefold. Number one, to create people of understanding, al-ulil albab. Number two, teach citizenship. Number three, teach entrepreneurship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised understanding, which is the peak of intelligence. It's not merely an IQ or EQ score, it is the application of IQ and EQ to live in the world as responsible, contributing citizens working to create a positive influence on society. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defined education and the methodology of education. It's so beautiful. The Quran itself tells you how we should teach. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Imran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, which means, verily, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of the night and the day, there are indeed signs for people of understanding. Al-ulil albab. Those who are they? Those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala standing, sitting and lying down on their sides. And, I want you to remember this, and think deeply and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth. And they say, O our Rabb, you have not created all of this without purpose, in vain. All glory be to you, you are without partners. Give us salvation from the torment of the fire. The key word, as I mentioned, is and. وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Allah did not say, who are the ulil albab? Allah did not say, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ أَوْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah did not say this. Allah said, وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah did not use or, He used and. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that the sign of intelligence is to recognize Him first and then see His signs in His creation. The natural result of that is that the slave recognizes his own position and his heart fills with the glory and majesty and love of his Rabb Jalla Jalaluhu. And he seeks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness and protection from the fire. My brothers and sisters, the purpose of all education is to recognize our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu, and prepare for our meeting with Him. That is why integrated teaching is designed to integrate Islam and science. Integrated teaching consists of working with projects, learning individual subjects through the project. For example, we take a project called mountains. Are you ready to see what this project in our classrooms look like? In a typical classroom, there is more than one teacher, high-speed networking, abundant technology, space and materials to make models, arrangements to collaborate with classrooms across the world, with subject experts, with astronauts on the International Space Station. The classroom has smart boards, filming and projection facilities, art material, rock and soil specimens, and a physical and digital library. Students are of different age groups, spanning a band of 5 to 8 years. Why? Because humans learn in groups of different ages and from each other, not when they are segregated according to date of manufacture and punished for learning collaboratively. Students study everything about mountains, how they form and what they influence, weather and rainfall, for example. This covers geography, geology, mineralogy, meteorology, chemistry, and climatology. Who lives on and in them? Biology, sociology, anthropology, ecology, botany, entomology. How to measure the height of a mountain without any instrument. How to estimate the weight of a mountain. How mountains affected trade, wars, the history of nations. This covers math, physics, commerce, and history. Map making, orienteering, mountaineering, rock climbing, trekking, and high altitude survival skills and camping are all a part of this course. Students go on field trips in which they study flora and fauna of mountains and how they change with altitude. They research, conduct experiments, take photos and videos, compare results globally, document and publish. They invent tools, they solve problems. They use technology not only to get access to knowledge, but also to collaborate globally. In each of these areas, they study appropriate ayat of the Quran, ahadith of Rasulullah, relevant rulings of fiqh, stories from Islamic history and current affairs, all to help them to see the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to understand the relationship between Islam and science and bring alive the relevance of Islam in our lives. There are no exams as we know them. However, assessment of learning and teaching effectiveness is done at every stage of the project. Students make presentations about their learning, they write logs, they make films, dramas, paint, publish books. They run a daily newspaper of their learnings, digitally published and shared school-wide. Teachers assess the learning of each student throughout the year through this process, focusing on real understanding and application of knowledge, not on regurgitating undigested information because teachers are too scared or lazy to test understanding. I can go on, but I won't. Do you want to go back to school? Number 2, citizenship. Number 1, people of understanding. Number 2, citizenship. Citizenship is learnt by practice. In my model, students run the school. They elect a students' council, of which teachers are advisory members. The school is for the students, and so they must run it. The Students' Council ensures that all the requirements of education are fully met, but does it in a way that has the participation and active commitment of all concerned, students and teachers, in all decision making. The Students' Council is responsible for recruitment and annual performance assessment of teachers, teacher and student exchange programs, ongoing teacher training, parent-student-teacher interaction, not only PTAs, all timetables, infrastructure, housing and housekeeping, security and safety, health and hygiene, sports, activity clubs, external interface and collaboration. Governance is according to a democratic system that students devise, which may or may not be modeled on the system in practice in the country, but which students, after due process, deem to be most fitting to their situation. This system is enshrined in a constitution, which is the frame of reference. The Student Council's overall mandate is to achieve the goals of the school while managing the expectations of all constituents, ethically, morally, and legally. The idea is to give students hands-on experience of running larger constituencies in society. This is about training future local, national, and global leaders at all levels. An essential tool for the Students' Council, which they own and run, is a media platform in all its forms: print, video, messaging, and audio. A media platform which practices freedom of expression within the framework of truthful, clean, principled, responsible journalism. Think daily newspaper, TV shows, podcasts, YouTube Live, videos, websites and portals, internet-based messaging, surveys, elections, dealing with opposition, dissent, disagreement, while maintaining mutual respect and using dissent as a means of achieving greater cohesion. The possibilities are endless, so is the need. The Student Council's mandate is to care for the community as well as the members of the school, because citizenship is about partnering with other citizens for the welfare of everyone. For example, students participate with the state in relevant and appropriate activities. I visited a school in Scotland called Gordonston, which has a functional fire service with 2 fire engines that takes care of emergencies in the town. The only adults are the 2 fire engine drivers. All members of the crew are students. They also have an 80-foot sailing yacht, the Ocean Spirit of Moray, in which they participate in the tall ships races in European waters, which last for a month. Everyone on that ship is a student, including the captain, with 1 adult seaman in case of need. Imagine the experience of sailing a ship on the high seas with an 18-year-old in command. Leadership is a contact sport. You learn by doing. For those who are thinking, when do the students study? The answer is all the time. This is education, real education, which makes the graduates powerful, productive, responsible citizens of the nation. 3 generations of British royalty went to Gordonston. Number 3, entrepreneurship. We come to the final piece in the collage, which completes the whole picture. Entrepreneurship is the key to poverty eradication and correcting income disparity, which is the biggest cancer of our society today. To give you an idea about income disparity in America as we speak, the median annual income in the United States for a white family is $188,000 per year, while for a Hispanic family it is $36,000 per year, and for a black family it is $24,000 per year. 188,000 versus 24,000. As I mentioned, it was the poor who lost the most jobs and the poor who died most of COVID, because being poor also means being malnourished and not having access to the same level of healthcare. As Muslims, it's our job to address this. It is not about receiving or giving handouts, not about giving a man a fish, but about teaching him how to create a fishing company. This must be done in our schools in 4 ways. Number 1, vocational skill training. Every child must learn a skill. Schools must provide certification courses in various skills so that the student becomes a qualified technician who can market his or her skill as a means of earning revenue if they wish. Skill training is also about teaching attitudes, discipline, respect for the work ethic, working with your hands, planning, quality focus, relationship building, and taking pride in one's work. It's one of the best tools for character building that I know of. Number 2, practicing entrepreneurship. Students run the school cafeteria. This includes assessing customer needs and likes, customer preferences, planning menus, buying raw material, preparing meals and snacks, service delivery, customer relations, health and hygiene, staff training, budgeting, pricing, making a profit at the end of the year. In addition, this cafeteria is a means of benefiting others in the community, including the homeless, the aged, the hospitalized, and others. The second initiative to encourage, or the third to encourage entrepreneurship is a venture capital rolling fund, which is owned and funded by the students, to which philanthropists can also donate. This fund vets all new business ideas and provides either interest-free loans or acquires a stake in the business. I won't go into the detail of the vetting process, but for those who are interested, there's a very good show called Shark Tank, where hopeful entrepreneurs pitch their ideas to a group of VCs. Do watch the episode, especially about ideas that were rejected by the Shark Tank, but which went on to make millions. Good to keep the ego in check. The last of them, or the fourth of them, is a tuck shop in the school, which is fourth is a tuck shop in the school, which is run as a profit center and stocks products from students' enterprises on a profit-sharing basis. In addition to its normal daily activity, the tuck shop does periodic sales and campaigns and also participates in charitable activities. The final initiative is a bank that the students own and run on Islamic principles. Knowing how money works and how to make it work are critical life skills which must be taught in school. In conclusion, I reiterate that schools must become the training ground for real life by providing education that is practical, rooted in reality, highly responsive to societal needs, and which develops the faculties and skills of the students. We must raise highly competent individuals who are firmly rooted in a foundation of truth, which is modeled on the blessed sunnah of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is eminently doable and highly effective when done properly and completely. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to please Him. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.